What's up, everyone? I'm Sophia Pasternak, an award-winning author and mental health professional, and this channel is all about the intersection where writing meets psychology. I also post stuff about my author journey, baking bread, and outdoorsy stuff. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe so you're notified when I post a new video. Okay, so we're on episode 2, I guess, of my character therapy series, and this one is all about the mistrust and abuse schema. And as a reminder real fast, my character therapy is not for use on real people. This is just for those imaginary people who are giving you trouble when you're trying to write about them. If you haven't already watched my character therapy overview right here, please go do that so that I don't have to repeat a ton of stuff and make this video super long, and also so that you don't miss out on some really good information and content to kind of put this lesson into context. All right, so let's get started. The mistrust and abuse schema can be summed up as the people who love me will hurt me or lie to me. So people with the mistrust and abuse schema believe that their loved ones are going to lie, cheat, manipulate, or hurt them. And not only that, but they're going to do it on purpose. These are not going to be accidental abuses. They're going to be on purpose. This expectation that your loved ones are going to hurt you make people with this schema really suspicious, and in extreme cases, they can even move into paranoia. They might just avoid intimate relationships altogether and not be close to anybody, because what's the point of being close to somebody if they're just going to hurt you or lie to you? And this schema may have started in your character's childhood when a parent or other authority figure did this to them, lied to them, or manipulated them, etc. In my overview video, go watch it, I mentioned the 3 different types of people, or the 3 different types of responses that people can have to a schema being triggered. Now, what a schema trigger is when a character has a thought or emotion or experience that makes this little voice in their head kind of say, they're going to abuse you, they're going to lie to you, they're going to cheat on you. That's that schema kind of poking its head up and saying everything's terrible and this is how. And that's that trigger. So, or something that causes that to happen is the trigger, and that is being triggered. So there are 3 different ways that a character can respond to their schema being triggered. The first way is being an overcompensator. The overcompensators act like the opposite of the schema is true. So if your character has the schema of mistrust and abuse, and they're an overcompensator, their response to the schema being triggered may be to be super trusting of other people because they're trying to prove that schema wrong, basically. They're trying to overcompensate. No, nobody would hurt me. Nobody would cheat on me. Nobody would lie to me. And so they're very, very trusting in other people. And a lot of the times this just sets them up for failure because not all people can be trusted. That's an unfortunate truth of the world. So they just set themselves up for failure. Another way that the overcompensators can act is by preemptively hurting somebody else. So if their schema gets triggered and they start to suspect that the person they are dealing with is going to, betray them in some way, they will be abusive, etc., to that other person first to kind of preempt it. Nobody can hurt me because I'm going to hurt them first. The second way that your character can respond to their schema being triggered is by avoiding. And the avoiders are all pretty similar. They just avoid. And they do that either physically by not being in a relationship with anybody else, physically or emotionally. They can be technically in a relationship, but they keep themselves emotionally distant, because if you get emotionally involved in somebody and then they betray you in this way that you know they're going to, it hurts more. So if you just keep yourself away, then you'll be set and you won't get hurt. People with the mistrust and abuse schema who are avoiders will withhold information. They don't share things about themselves with other people. This is that person who you work with and you know nothing about them. And one day you find out that they're like married with kids and you're like, what? How did I not know that? Well, because they don't trust you and it's none of your business and they're not interested in you knowing about their life, because the more you know, the more you can hurt them. Now, the third way that your character can respond to their schema being triggered is by surrendering. And the surrenderers act like the schema is absolutely true. this is destined to happen to me. I might as well just let it happen. Even though they believe that the schema is inevitable, it still hurts when it happens. People with the surrendering response to their schema can sometimes act in really big emotional ways because even though they were expecting this to happen and it was inevitable that this thing happened, it still hurts really bad. Very similarly to the abandonment schema, people with the abuse and mistrust and abuse schema who are surrenderers will oftentimes put themselves into relationships with people who they know are going to abuse them, they know are going to be liars and cheaters. That's what they expect out of their loved ones and their romantic partners. And I mentioned this before, and I will mention it again, that these are not conscious thoughts that people have. These are all subconscious. They kind of live under the surface, and these are just kind of the background noise of this person's life. So the background noise of their life is everyone's going to hurt you. The people who care about you will lie to you. And that just becomes the truth of their world. Instead of the sky being blue, it's, printed with the people who love you will hurt you. And that's just the truth of their world. Also, in my overview video, I talked about the lie, the want, the truth, and the wound. The 4 pieces of our character arc. And I really love that these are 4 pieces of character arcs that a lot of people talk about, because these are 4 things that I work with my real life patients with. And it's finding your lie, finding your want, and finding your truth. And the wound comes, I don't really make people talk too much about that unless they want to, but I do make them, okay, what's your schema? Your lie is your schema. The lie is the people I love will hurt me. And the want is for this particular schema, it's something like, I want to be in a relationship with someone who won't hurt me. And that is a want, the want is defined as this thing that your character wants, and it's usually a tangible physical thing or a person, and that thing assumes that the lie is true. So you say, I want to be in a relationship with somebody who won't hurt me, assuming that everybody is going to hurt you. And so that's why you make that want, oh, I really wish I could have this magical person who's not going to hurt me. Whereas in reality, you need the truth. The truth in some instances is called the need. And I call it the truth because it's kind of the opposite of what the lie is. And it's the thing, and it's usually an intangible thing. It's a change in outlook, or it's a new piece of information. And it is the thing that your character actually needs to understand in order to be happy. I've talked before about how happy is a dirty word, but it's the easiest one. So happy. So your character wants to be happy, and finding a person who magically isn't going to hurt them is not the way to be happy. The way to be happy, to oppose that lie of the people who love me will hurt me, is to acknowledge that not everyone is out to hurt me. Not everyone is out to get me. And I can trust people. And if somebody lies to me, that's not necessarily because that's predestined to happen or I'm doomed to be lied to. It's just because, you know what? It's something that happens sometimes. So that is the truth. It kind of opposes your lie. It proves your lie to be false. And then the wound is sometimes called the ghost. And it is whatever happened in your character's past that made them believe the lie, that made that schema kind of happen. Now, I'm not going to go into the 7-point plot outline too much because I have a whole video on that. But if you want to kind of get more of an insight into how your schemas can really fit well into the 7-point plot outline, go check me out on Patreon. I have PDFs that I made for everything that are fillable and that you can kind of plug your information into. So I really love using schemas as a way to kind of bust my writer's block. So if I'm having a tough time in my story and I've got my schema set up, I will kind of take a step back and I'll go, okay, so what do I do now? You have established your character's lie. And your character's lie in this case is mistrust and abuse. So your character believes that everybody in their life is going to abuse them or lie to them or manipulate them or cheat on them somehow. So off we go on our adventure, and you're kind of in the middle. You're in Act 2 and you're like, what do I do? I'm kind of having a rough time. Or you have completed the manuscript and you need to cut stuff. And so you're looking through scenes. So go with the scene and pick it out and just look and go, how does this relate to my lie? Does this challenge my lie? Does this reinforce my lie? Or does it have nothing to do with my lie? And if that scene has nothing to do with that lie, cut it out. Make it have something to do with your lie. If it has nothing to do with that lie, this is your character's emotional arc here. And when you are developing this arc, you don't want to have any gaps in the arc. And the gaps in the arc are those chapters when it has nothing to do with the arc. You want to make sure it's seamless. Look at your scene. How does this reinforce the lie? And make a note. How does this disprove the lie? Make a note. And when you're in Act 2, you want to have reinforcing, disproving, and kind of bouncing up and down, because Act 2 is when your character is doing this growing and this changing. And by the time we get, to the end, to plot turn 2, when you realize you had what you needed all along to defeat your antagonist, we have moved into disprove, maybe reinforce a little bit, but then we're going to disprove it again, and up we go until they have rejected the lie and they have bought the truth completely, and they can use that truth to defeat that antagonist or become a more fully realized person. So the exercise that I had everybody do for my abandonment and instability schema, I'm going to bring that back right now. Go get a piece of paper or open up a Word document, get a chalkboard, get a bunch of Post-it notes, do whatever you need to do to write something down right now. First, I want you to write down your character's relationship with the lie. What is the relationship with that lie? And in this case, it's the mistrust and abuse schema. People who love me are going to lie on me, they're going to cheat on me, they're going to manipulate me. So write down exactly how your character relates to that idea. Did you do it? Neat. So now I want you to write down all of the ways that this lie could be reinforced. So all of the things that could happen, all of the thoughts that your character could have, all of the, just the things around them or within them that could reinforce this lie. In the mistrust and abuse schema, that reinforcement would be that their significant other cheats on them. Reinforced, ba-boom. Or they see somebody else get cheated on and they go, you know what, that's proof enough for me that's the truth of the world, is that the people who love you will leave you. The people who love you will hurt you. So do that. Take a minute. Pause me if you need. And thirdly, write what could challenge that lie, things that could disprove it. So knowing somebody who is in a relationship where there is no manipulation and there is no abuse and there are no lies, and your character knows that person, and they have to reconcile this obvious challenge to their truth, and they can make excuses for it, but in any case, that's there, and that's a physical proof that their lie might not be true all the time. So write down anything that could challenge that lie. And once you've done that, keep that list, keep those Post-its, save that Word document, don't erase that chalkboard. And in the future, when you are stuck somewhere and you're having a really hard time making it through, just go back to that list and go, okay, do I want to reinforce the lie or do I want to challenge the lie? And pick something from that list that you made and write a scene about it. And you don't have to keep it. It might just be something that kind of, jumbles your brain up or jogs your brain. And when you finish it, you might have a new perspective, or maybe you do want to keep that in your book. I write scenes all the time that don't necessarily make it in, but help me figure out who my characters are and figure out what's happening in the story, etc. So give yourself a break, write stuff that might not make it, and really explore, get to know your characters. Okay, that's all for me. That's all for the mistrust and abuse schema. So we talked about what it means to believe that the people who love me will hurt me. We talked about being an overcompensator or being an avoider or being a surrenderer. And we also talked about the lie, the want, the truth, and the wound. And then kind of got into ways that you can use schemas to kind of bust writer's block and also to kind of trace that arc of your character. So I hope this is helpful, and if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you have any friends who are writers and you think that they would benefit from this series, please share it with them. I really love writing this way, and I really love teaching, and I really love, sharing what I know. So Get it out there to your friends. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment below, and I would love to answer you. You can also find me on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all kinds of other places. Everything is linked down below. So that's all, and I hope you have a great day.